My name is Bucky Rogers, and I want to speak to you about John Haynes Holmes. See, I believe that Holmes kept the radical spirit of Unitarianism alive in novel ways during the early 20th century. In the fall of 1917, the American Unitarian Association's General Conference was held in Montreal. Holmes wanted to introduce a resolution that would allow a free pulpit for Unitarian ministers to express pacifist sentiments regarding the U.S. entry into World War I. He had recently preached a pacifistic sermon himself at the Church of the Messiah in New York and wanted to extend that freedom to other ministers around the country. His resolution, though, was opposed by former U.S. President and Unitarian lay leader William Howard Taft, and the counter-resolution that Taft introduced ended up passing by a vote of 236 to 9. Holmes took this as a clear message regarding the Unitarian perspective on pacifism, and he ended up renouncing his fellowship in the American Unitarian Association. He went back home to his congregation in New York and asked them to join him in leaving the American Unitarian Association. This was, again, right after he had preached a pacifistic sermon and asked them to reaffirm the free pulpit, but they took a big step in following him once again. They became the Community Church of New York. Now I want to talk to you not just about what the Community Church of New York was able to accomplish ecclesiastically, but about what Holmes was putting on the line as a leader at that point in his career, and what it was that made him such a dynamic leader in the first place.
Drudge and idler tend that toil where one reposes, but a
Holmes was putting a lot on the line in 1917. He had already authored several critically and popularly well-received books, including Is Death the End in 1915, where he talked about Henri Bergson's notion of an élan vital as it applied to theology. He had been a founding member of the NAACP and the ACLU, and he had done what I'm told all good young Unitarian ministers should do, which is to have married rich. It was against that backdrop of having already achieved a great amount of success that he went before his congregation to ask that they leave the AUA and become the Community Church of New York.
We come marching, marching, we battle to for men.
Holmes's work at the Community Church of New York presaged much of what we think of now as axiomatic to the values and the goals of our liberal religious tradition. He did radical interfaith work with his friend Rabbi Stephen Wise, both theologically and politically. They worked to take down Mayor James J. Walker of New York in a corruption scandal in the 1930s.
As we come marching, marching, unnumbered women.
He also made the Community Church of New York a haven for political radicals, including through his work in founding the American chapter of the Fellowship for Reconciliation. How is Holmes able to do so much good work socially and politically while still maintaining organic connections to a religious community that he led in groundbreaking ways? I think the answer lies in his theology. Not only was Holmes a social gospeler through and through, he also was able to articulate notions of proto-process theology. Like I said earlier, his writings on Henri Bergson's notion of an élan vital were inspiring to him and to the community for which he popularized it for decades. Holmes felt that this élan vital was part of a spiritual force that was in and of all beings. It brought humans together, and it brought each human to his or her own highest self. Holmes articulated that notion throughout his ministry and was inspired by it himself. I don't think we can help but continue to be inspired by it today. When Theodore Parker spoke about the transient and the permanent in Christianity, he said that what was permanent in the religion that he loved was an underlying spirit of coming together in beloved community, of working for social justice together, and of pushing each person towards their own most noble goals. That, he said, would outlive church hierarchies and structures and buildings, and I can't help but feel that his prophecy is coming true, and that as we enter the 21st century, that vital spirit is still very much alive, bringing us into beloved community with each other and calling us to our own highest selves.
As we come marching,
that's the radical spirit. Do you feel it?
Women dead go crying through our singing.